What an amazing gift. I will mark Prince George with the sign of the cross.
A quiet rite, a sacred sign on a young brow, and a message the monarchy intends the country to grasp at once. The line of succession has been fixed in plain view. Tonight, we are not talking about distant branches of a family tree. No more whispers looping through receptions and across newspaper columns. The spotlight here, now, settles on a 12-year-old boy standing straight beneath the ancient stone vault of St. George's Chapel. Prince George. The setting could make even those fluent in pageantry hold their breath. Candlelight trembles across walls that have witnessed the rises and reckonings of a dynasty. Incense mingles with a softening choir, clearing the air for the cleric's voice to carry into the ribs of the nave. No spectacle, no public lenses, only a family, a line of clergy, and a carefully prepared rite sends a crisp signal. The future crown will track a straight line, unbent. From sources close to the household, this was not merely a routine confirmation for a young Anglican. The vocabulary was chosen. The order of service was chosen. The holy oil was chosen. Each element threaded to recall a tradition that shaped modern Britain. When the celebrant's hand touched George's forehead, another layer settled on the boy. Private faith fused with public duty. Childhood meeting destiny. The congregation was small, but every gaze lingered. Catherine, calm, steady, stood, half a pace behind, eyes glistening in the candlelight. William gave the briefest nod. No speech required. They understood this moment was not only religious. It was architecture framing the future of an institution that wants to tell the public, "We have chosen how to go on." To read the message accurately, look beyond the stone altar and the hand-embroidered vestments. In the Windsor panorama, the succession line has never been obscure. But since the accession of King Charles, the strategy to streamline the working royals has come into focus. The center of gravity has moved toward the Wales family. And tonight, the rite at St. George's turns policy into symbol. The structure of the service speaks plainly. Prayers circled duty and humility, a familiar axis in rites bound to kingship. The chrism, the oil that threads through coronation history, was named not as a slogan but as an anchor for emotion. This boy is not only born to inherit, he is being prepared to bear. From the outside, the public may see only a beautiful tableau. Inside the family, this is the hinge in a quiet curriculum. William and Catherine ushered their son across a spiritual threshold before he steps through the thresholds of civic life. The philosophy is clear: service first, spotlight later. House rules before stagecraft. At the center of that philosophy stands Catherine, laying each brick so her child has a normal childhood within the profoundly unnormal frame of royalty. Catherine's presence tonight is not only maternal, she is the emotional and ethical axis. The monarchy wants the public to see a symbol of composure in a storm of commentary, of keeping the household's rhythm in an age when the private can be harvested for entertainment. By placing her in nearly every quiet frame of the evening, half a step back, watching, steadying the palace, is communicating by image. We are building the future around a durable, unshowy pillar. Institutionally, the closed ceremony has its logic. Public finances are scrutinized more intensely. Social moods swing sharply at displays of excess. Choosing a private, solemn, cost-conscious rite lets the court manage both message and reaction. The aura remains, but the light is dialed in. Tradition survives, but it is set beneath a glass case sized for the era. History makes the comparisons feel apt, not forced. There have been moments when future sovereigns were touched by holy rites to steel their spirits before entering politics. There, the church does more than bless. It keeps memory, ensuring the crown does not sever the thread tying it to the nation's spiritual root. Tonight, as the celebrant read scripture about leaders called to serve, the chapel seemed to draw a straight line to far-off reigns. A current unbroken, only reshaped. Within the climate of public opinion, the signal of centralization is also written clearly. Long-standing indicators have pointed to a trend. Reduce reliance on wide royal circles, avoid scattering roles, concentrate media energy, budgets, and expectations on the direct line. Tonight's rite for George is choreographed with the cadence of an old-school civics lesson. Look to the main axis, subtract the peripheral questions, no harsh words. But the invitations, the seating, even the silences all communicate. Silence, of course, invites debate. Some will say this is a closing of the circle, nudging peripheral names, another step outward. Others will call it a necessary choice to protect the efficiency of an institution that lives by symbol. Both views have merit. The essential thing to see is that between the pressure to look more ordinary and the pressure to guard the myth, the monarchy is choosing the middle road, rites rich with meaning, behind a narrower door. the sacred intact, the staging restrained, the public statement quiet, the symbol eloquent. For George, the immediate impact is unmistakable. This is the frame in which he learns why to stand straight before cameras, why to smile on cue and hold silence at the right time. If such lessons are learned only in public noise, they risk performance. Learned on a night of substance like this, they become initiation into duty. That is why William's pride flashed briefly, while Catherine remained still. To them, this rite is a rope of reassurance, foundation first, title later. At a deeper level, the rite helps the court braid two languages often treated as separate, the language of faith and the language of governance. When the church says humility, the court hears responsibility. When the church says calling, the court hears service. The two meet in a 12-year-old who will grow into a world that demands a sovereign be both close and elevated, transparent, and still a guardian of the faint mystery the public wants to believe in. From here, the question is no longer, what happened in Windsor tonight? But, what does tonight prepare for 10 and 20 years from now? The rite does not answer directly. It sets a stone marker, so future answers have a place to stand. As George appears more often at civic engagements, as he begins to speak into themes his family has chosen from the environment to mental health, we will trace a thread from this evening's chrism to tomorrow's speeches. For the public, it all amounts to a new pact. Expect fewer appearances, but with denser meaning. Seek less drama at the edges. Watch the line drawn down the middle. And just as the service closed a short hymn, a family prayer, the message closes with simplicity. A crown endures not by speaking loudly, but by keeping time. We have witnessed a small gesture, yet a large shift. A private rite, yet a public declaration. From St. George's Chapel tonight, the monarchy has said plainly, the future will run on a straight line, with a boy taught to stand upright and a mother quietly keeping the candlelight steady. In the next section, we will sift through the historical and liturgical layers stirred by this evening, to see why a single sign of oil can weigh as much as a new chapter in a royal house. We widen the frame. We read the rite like a document, the altar as headline, the oil as doctrine, the words as law, and the silence as strategy. Each element was chosen, each element spoke. St. George's Chapel is not mere stone. It is a ledger. It tallies vows, funerals, victories, and repairs. Its fan vaults hold more than air. They hold precedent. By placing a 12-year-old beneath those ribs, the household redirected the nation's eye from gossip to grammar, the grammar of state ritual. You could hear it in the acoustics. Prayers rose and came back disciplined, not theatrical. The message, continuity is built, not trended. The chapel says, we have done this before, we will do it again. Chrism is theology you can touch. It is not confetti, it is covenant. When oil crossed a boy's brow, two currents braided private belief and public office. In coronations, chrism confers a sacred burden. Here, it previewed one, a rehearsal for weight. The hand that anointed did something else too. It calibrated the monarchy's claim in a secular age. Not thunder, not pomp, a light, deliberate sign. Enough to root authority, not so much as to provoke allergy. It is a fine line. The rite walked it. Listen to the vocabulary. Duty, humility, stewardship. No legal oath was sworn that belongs to a different day, but the liturgy sketched its silhouette. Scripture about leaders who serve first, rule second. Lines that bind a future voice to a certain register. Steady, spared of excess, anchored in service. For a child at the cusp of adolescence, it set an inner metronome. Public life will tempt rhythm to quicken. The rite set it slow. Intimacy was not an accident. A small congregation is a message in miniature. It says the crown can edit itself. Fewer eyes, thicker meaning. The invitations traced the working center of the family. The seating diagram did the rest. Parents within arm's reach, clergy close enough to be heard before being seen. Cameras? Kept out. Not fear of the lens, mastery of it. When the institution wants symbolism to survive first contact with the news cycle, it narrows the aperture. Then it lets the nation look after the meaning has been fixed. 12 is an age of thresholds. Old enough to know, young enough to learn. The palace understands optics, it also understands formation. You can coach etiquette, you can tutor policy, but confidence under destiny is not taught in seminars. It is planted by rites that say, you are part of something older and larger than applause. The service finished what years of quiet parenting began normalcy, with a North Star. School runs and altar rails, football boots and polished shoes. Catherine's role, again, was not decorative. She kept time. Her posture taught as much as the homily present, composed, slightly behind, never absent. In a family where attention is oxygen, Restraint becomes leadership. The palace knows the camera will find her whatever she does. It choreographed a lesson. The future queen's power is not volume. It is steadiness. When the boy looked up, he saw authority that comforts rather than consumes. William's nod was a sentence. It ended a paragraph begun years ago, the decision to streamline, to guard the center, to lower the temperature and raise the bar. Tonight, the gate was not slammed. It was shaped. The message to the nation's institutions, press, parliament, platforms was crisp. We will appear less often, mean more when we do, and leave fewer gaps for speculation to colonize. In a democracy of opinions, the Church of England lends the crown something polls cannot: continuity that predates likes and outlasts cycles. By standing next to the family without engulfing it, the Dean gave the rite a constitutional tone, spiritual, yes, but also civic. The monarchy is not outsourcing legitimacy to religion. It is borrowing language old enough to calm the argument about why the crown exists at all. There was thrift in the air, no jeweled theatrics, no public expense ledger to inflame debate. The court read the room mortgages, bills, winter headlines, and tailored the rite to today's nerves. It was not austerity theater. It was proportionality. The monarchy moved the story from cost to meaning, from spectacle to signal. Put the pieces together and you read one line. Centralize the narrative, concentrate the roles, deepen the symbolism, lower the noise. The Wales family carries the through line. The child is not a mascot. He is an apprentice under a slow, old discipline. The crown is not screaming relevance. It is rehearsing it. There will be critics. Some will see exclusion, an inner ring tightening while outer rings fade. Others will see discipline, a complex brand simplified for survival. The palace will not litigate this in public. The rite is its brief. It argues by composition, not commentary. It says, "We know what we are for. We will spend our dwindling attention on that alone. Do not look for fireworks. Look for patterns. Slightly more civic appearances for the boy. Carefully chosen charities, words delivered from notes rather than memory at first, then from memory without haste. A cadence you can keep for 50 years. That is the point. The monarchy prefers marathons to headlines. Tonight I taught the first mile. When the hymn closed, the symbolism remained on the walls, as it was meant to. The country will forget the readings chapter and verse. It will remember the picture: a child anointed lightly, a mother steady, a father certain, a chapel that has seen worse and steadied better. In a season of contested institutions, that image does quiet work. It says, the crown still knows how to be solemn without being loud. Up next, we turn to the long arc, why these gestures echo Tudor and Victorian transitions without imitating them, and how the institution borrows the past to brief the future. We turn the camera from the moment to the map. The rite was small. The arc it points to is not. The monarchy has reached back into its archive not to reenact the past, but to borrow its grammar. Tudor solemnity, Victorian restraint, 21st century pragmatism. 3 registers, 1 score. Continuity. In older reigns, anointing was the hinge between person and office. It said, "This life is no longer private property." That sentence still works. The rite used a modern, quieter syntax to say the same thing about a boy at 12. Correction. Eras of strain have historically produced rites that renewed authority without berating the public. The move is subtle. You do not shout legitimacy. You stage it. Tonight followed that template: lean, controlled, legible. Confidence. The past lends steel. When an institution can point to centuries, it borrows stamina. The chapel's stones do the talking that press statements cannot. The headline is written in architecture: "We have survived worse." Proportionality. Spectacles are expensive in money and tolerance. The country reads utility now, not just pageantry. A compact rite satisfies both. Meaning for the crown, moderation for taxpayers, clarity. Audiences are fractured. Attention is scarce. The narrative must be simple. The direct line carries the load. The periphery supports, but does not lead. Tonight's casting reflected that hierarchy. Credibility. In an age allergic to self-importance, humility is not a mood, it is a tactic. The vocabulary of duty and service isn't decoration. It is how the crown avoids becoming content. Signal. Choose the venue, the oil, the words. Deliver the message without over-explaining it. Let the images carry the first wave. Shelter. Keep the circle small. Allow meaning to set before narratives compete. Provide only as many details as required to ground, not to inflame. School. Convert the rite into a curriculum. More learning than publicity. Increase the child's civic exposure by inches, not leaps. Tie each outing to service, not spectacle. The palace curated composition guest list, pacing, silence. It showed it can edit itself. The church lent memory language older than polling, tone older than platforms. The press will follow. The palace knows this. By narrowing the aperture, it offered fewer hooks for noise and more context for news. The public will judge cadence, not only content. Fewer appearances, more weight. That is the bargain being proposed. It is a formation moment, a constitutional rehearsal, a spiritual endorsement of service. It is not a coronation, a legal oath, a budgetary burden, a media stunt. It does not rewrite law. It rewrites expectations. Every durable institution has a core and an orbit. The core carries accountability. The orbit carries the atmosphere. The monarchy's recent reforms formalize that geometry. The Wales household is the core parents who prize normal rhythm, children being taught the grammar of duty. The orbit remains, but it no longer dictates tempo. Perception of exclusion. Tight circles can look like closed doors. Mitigation. Public service that is widely shared, not narrowly branded. Church-state optics. Sacred language can jar modern ears. Mitigation. Humility forward, triumph out. The rite's tone did exactly that. Cynicism. In an online economy, every symbol is bait. Mitigation. Under, promise. Over, steady. Keep cameras few and outcomes concrete. Fatigue. If the crown explains too much, it looks defensive. If it explains too little, it looks aloof. The line is thin. The choreography tonight chose restraint and let meaning accrue. Because leadership training has to begin before leadership is required. Because discipline is easier to inherit than to acquire. Because adolescence will test certainty, and rites like this set the metronome before the noise sets the beat. Catherine's pattern is consistent. Normalize, then elevate. School runs as a shield, church rail as compass. She is writing a handbook for modern royal parenting, in plain view, modest images, sturdy outcomes. It is not charisma first. It is character first. The rite affirms that order. William's role is to decide where the institution draws its boundaries. Tonight's nod affirmed the boundaries already sketched in recent years. Fewer senior roles, clearer lines of work, higher standards for when and why the family appears. The heir's family will model those lines. The rest will adapt around them. Stand. Listen. Answer slowly. Understand that faith here means service, not superiority. Know that the room is older than you and will be here after you. See your parents' posture. Copy it. Then grow into your own. You will not see a calendar flood. You will see a pattern. Appearances linked to service. Youth, mental health, environment. Scripts that stress stewardship over celebrity. Tutors who teach statesmanship as a craft, not a mood. Careful use of first words in public scaffolded, then gradually freed. What does the country get back for its attention? Fewer headlines, steadier leadership, more community-level contact, less balcony theater. The rite invites citizens to judge the crown not by volume, but by value added quietly over time. If the institution holds to this line, the next decade looks like this: a slower media tempo, an heir who learns by serving, a future king trained to sound like a steward first, a sovereign second. It borrows Tudor gravity without Tudor drama, Victorian restraint without Victorian distance. The point bears repeating. The rite was not an ending. It was a beginning marker where history's weight and the present's demands shake hands. From here, the work is procedural, not performative. We leave the chapel and step into corridors where formation happens. The monarchy's work now is domestic, procedural, quietly relentless. A single rite becomes a syllabus. A household becomes a school. The mother, metronome. Catherine keeps the rhythm routine as refuge. School runs on time. Church on Sundays when possible. Screens rationed. Sports prioritized. Homework defended. She folds faith and ordinary habit into one lesson. Steadiness is not an accident. It is built. The father, gatekeeper. William shapes the perimeter. What enters the family calendar, what does not. Which invitations serve learning, which feed noise. He enforces the rule that attention is a currency. Spend little, get value back. Private secretary's office, civics lab. Staff translate duty into teachable modules. How an engagement is scoped, why a briefing note matters, where the red lines are. 3 folders for every outing. People, place, purpose, plus 1 card. Marked names to remember. Equerries and operations. Fieldcraft. Movement, timing, procession, handshakes. How to read a room. How to keep a cue moving without rushing a story. The choreography that the public never sees but senses when it's missing. Chaplain's mentors, moral compass. Short, Regular conversations. Humility when praised, composure when criticized, gratitude as default. Scripture and service are framed not as mystique, but as accountability. Tutors, constitution, and voice. History of institutions, basics of law, geography of the realm and commonwealth. Rhetoric in small steps. Reading aloud, then paraphrasing, then speaking without notes. Voice before volume. Security, awareness, not anxiety. Situational cues, digital hygiene, how to move in crowds while seeing individuals. The aim is confidence alert, not reactive. Patronage teams, reality check. Hospitals, youth centers, conservation sites. Each visit was designed as a class with an outcome. A concept understood, a program remembered, a promise made and tracked. Cadence over quantity. Fewer appearances, deeper briefs, steadier follow-ups. The household plans arcs, not spikes. Spring focuses on youth and mental health. Autumn on environment and stewardship. Each arc ends with something tangible: tools funded, volunteers trained, habitats restored. First words principle. Early speeches stay short, 60 to 90 seconds, with a clear verb in the first paragraph. Thank, honor, support, learn. Scripts are drafted plainly, then cut again. The measure is not applause, but clarity. A narrow aperture. Pool cameras when needed, official photographs when not. The goal is not secrecy, it is sequence, meaning first, imagery after. If a moment cannot hold its meaning without 1,000 lenses, it is not ready. Digital discipline, no personal posting. Official channels carry minimal, unvarnished clips. Comments are monitored, replies are rare and formal. The household treats feeds as notice boards, not forums. Narrative pillars, every story leans on 4. Service, humility, continuity, future, fitness. If a piece of footage can't be framed within those pillars, it is not used. Metrics that matter. Sentiment analysis is noted, not chased. The household watches for comprehension, what was learned, not virality, how loud it was. A monthly table asks, what changed for citizens because we showed up? Years 1-2. Observation and grounding. Attend more, speak less. Shadow parents at low-stakes visits. 2 micro remarks per quarter, both written. Reading list. Short biographies of service. First leaders. Notes on the places visited. Years dry fear. First voice. Quarterly remarks, 90 seconds. 1 youth-focused initiative to co-patron and name. Only learning the ropes without the weight. Media training light. Microphone craft. Pause discipline. Q. A boundaries. Years 5-6. Responsibility in miniature. 1 speech each term, 3 per year, up to 3 minutes. A school-anchored project where peers benefit. Libraries, sport, mental health peer support. Overseas exposure once, under full supervision, tied to climate or conservation. Years 7-8. Public craft. Remarks without notes in safe rooms. Chair a roundtable with experts. Ask prepared questions. Summarize takeaways. Begin. Annual letter to youth groups served. Measurable pledges inside. Years Nov. 10. Apprenticeship. Shadow briefings on national themes from senior officials. Lead 1 cross-charity day of service, logistics rehearsed, outcomes audited. Deliver a keynote written with tutors. Tested for plain English. Cleared for substance. Throughout, exams and ordinary childhood guardrails remain. The plan is scaffolding, not a spotlight schedule. Overexposure. Temptation to feed demand. Mitigation. Hard caps on appearances. Each outing must carry a learning objective and a civic outcome. Underexposure. Becoming symbolic to the point of abstraction. Mitigation. Small, frequent, local visits without press. Real people, real tasks. Church-state optics. Sacred language read as triumphalist. Mitigation. Verbs of service foregrounded. Clergy present as memory. Keepers, not power. Brokers. Peer pressure and normalcy. The bubble versus teenage life. Mitigation. School protected. Friendships chosen for trust, not title. Sport kept central. Security and digital threats. Mitigation. Layered protocols, dull routines, rotating routes. Phones set to minimum data. Strict family rules for photos of minors. Cynicism. Whatever is done is seen as branding. Mitigation. Let results age. Publish quiet follow-ups months later. Show numbers repaired, not crowds applauding. Why us? If another institution can do it better, we decline. What changes? A number or a name that will be different tomorrow. Who leads? Locals first. Royals amplify. Which sentence? 1 line George can say that is true, simple, and kind. What remains private? Boundaries stated in advance. How do we close the loop? A date to check back, a person responsible. Pinned above the desk is a short reminder. If we cannot explain the benefit to a child, it isn't service. Wardrobe, school adjacent, ceremony, light. Dark suits when required, jumpers and polos when not. No jeweled metaphors, no peacock colors. Composition, family groupings, three-quarter profiles, work tables rather than balconies. Hands occupied planting, painting, handing certificates, so images read participation, not pose. Sound, rooms with carpet and bookshelves, microphones barely visible, fewer roar of the crowd moments, more conversations at eye level. Charlotte and Louis are not scenery. The plan treats siblings as co-learners. Some appearances are shared teamwork, listening, hospitality. Others are separate, each child tested at their own pace. The message is internal first. Love does not equal airtime. It equals equal care. The King, a living library of precedent. Occasional tea. One story, one lesson, no lectures. The Princess Royal, guardian of standards, punctuality, stamina, plain speech. Trusted non-royals. Head teachers, paramedics, conservationists, people who carry authority without cameras. The household rotates these voices into the learning calendar. Exposure will be careful and late. When it comes, it will be service-anchored. Youth skill programs, climate adaptation sites, healthcare partnerships. The rule is simple. Visit where listening matters more than speaking. Announce little, learn much. Imagine a triangle, chapel, memory. At the top, household, discipline. On the left, country, service. On the right. The line from chapel to household keeps identity steady. The line from household to country keeps activity useful. The line from country back to chapel returns gratitude as story, not as boast. Every Monday, a short debrief: what was learned, who was helped, what to do next. Every term, a dashboard with 3 rows, not 30. People reached, programs strengthened, promises kept. The dashboard is for the family, not the press. Before George steps through a door, he is given 3 anchors. 1 question to ask a person by name. 1 thing to notice and mention aloud. 1 sentence to leave behind that encourages, not advertises. It cuts nerves. It builds memory. It respects time. From a distance, this looks simple. Up close, it is craft. The School of Duty is not a summer course. It is a decade of repetition with care. The chapel lit the candle. The household tends the flame. The chapel lit the candle. The household lit the flame. Now the ecosystem around it calibrates. A slower royal tempo forces everyone else press. Parliament, church, charities, platforms to choose weight over noise, procedure over spectacle. Press. The gallery is asked to trade volume for clarity, pooled access when presence matters, official stills when it doesn't, background notes that explain why this visit, why now. Off-record guardrails are explicit, ambush questions are out, a small rota attends, long lenses wait. When coverage lands, the measure is comprehension, not clip count. Parliament and government. Neutrality is not a slogan, it's an operating rule. No visits in the shadow of votes, no podiums near policy fights, no briefings that sound like bills. MPs host as constituency guides, not protagonists. Data cited in remarks credits departments and councils first. The Crown enters a room to amplify service, not to tilt debate. Church of England. The Dean's role is memory without triumph. Liturgical moments intersect with civic arcs, youth, grief, care, never as pageants, always as pastoral. Chaplaincy visits move quietly through prisons, hospices, shelters. Sermons avoid coronation, thunder. Prayers carry verbs of service. Faith frames vocation, not privilege. Charities and civil society. Selection is disciplined. No plaque without a program, no ribbon without a runway. Each partnership fixes 1 number to move and 1 person responsible. Compacts are multi-year. Audits are plain, language. When the family returns, they report what changed, not what trended. Platforms and public. Algorithms reward heat. The palace answers with cadence. Official channels publish sparse, factual clips and quarterly explainers that stitch work into outcomes. Comments are moderated for safety. Hate is filtered. Criticism that adds facts stays. Open data links sit beneath posts when money or metrics are involved. Rules of engagement. 4. Purpose first. If locals can carry it alone, they do. Fewer cameras. Images follow meaning, not lead it. Locals lead. The microphone moves outward. Follow through. Every appearance has a booked return. Feedback loops. Monthly. A 3-way call: private secretary, charity COO, local lead checks, promises kept. 2-way memos. log frictions and fixes. An independent evaluator issues an annual letter carding impact, misses, and next steps. Red lines. No endorsements. No commercial tie-ins. No reality formats. Minors protected by default. Sacred language used sparingly, never as leverage. The ecosystem learns the monarchy's new rhythm. Less often, more substance. Fewer headlines, steadier gains. If the pact holds, noise decays and meaning compounds a climate in which a boy can grow into service before he grows into sovereignty. No fanfare, just a covenant. A straight line drawn in candlelight, then walked in daylight. The rite was the spark, the household is the hearth, the country is the work. If this holds, the crown measures not by noise, but by people steadied, places strengthened, promises kept. The mother keeps time, the father keeps gates. The boy learns a language older than applause. Stand, listen, serve. Fewer moments, deeper meaning. Rites become routines, routines become character. Institutions adjust, press by context, parliament by restraint, church by memory, charities by outcomes. Platforms will still chase heat. Let them. The monarchy will trade virality for stamina. There will be critics. If the line holds service over spectacle, humility over headlines, the image from Street George's endures. A child anointed lightly, a family steady, a nation judging by patience. Not a myth revived, but a craft relearned. The future, rehearsed quietly, becomes possible for decades.